What happens when you get your white balance wrong and you're shooting a JPEG file? I'm telling you, disaster. That's what happens. Come on over here and I'm going to show you exactly what I mean and how we avoid that in the future. Hi everyone, I'm Jennifer Wilson, the owner and creator of Kindred Presets. I'm so excited to dive into why RAW matters and how auto white balance and Kelvin play kind of an interesting little companion with this whole situation. So we're going to dive into Lightroom and look at the quality differences between these files and why it's so important, as we referenced in our last video, go check that out, why it's so important to shoot in RAW and how much more ability that gives you to make artistic changes. So let's go. Over here, we have some images taken of me in this exact same situation you've already seen me in. And as you can see down here, we've got RAW and JPEG all the way across in a couple of different scenarios. Now, this is auto white balance with both JPEG and RAW. And then we've got Kelvin set all the way as cold as it can go and all the way as hot or warm as it can go as well too. So just right off the bat, whenever a image is beautifully exposed and the white balance is lovely and everything that you hope for it to be, you're not going to be making that many changes anyways. Now, like I said in our last video, this is so paramountly important. Is paramountly even a word? I don't know. We're just going to keep moving forward. It's so paramount because in situations where you're shooting quickly and you can't really make changes because you're just on the go and catching things editorially, if you mess up your white balance and you ruin a moment with color, you're just kind of screwed, right? So over here with our RAW file, let's just go ahead and try and color correct this. We don't necessarily always have to drag our slider, but in case you're wondering, you can also hover and use your arrows. But we're gonna work with both our temperature and our tint until we feel comfortable and confident. I might even lift my exposure a little bit. Now, because this is a RAW file, we have a lot more range and ability here. I'm happy with where this landed. Skin tones look good. We've got clean, crisp whites, good contrast. Now we're going to come over here to our JPEG. And just a friendly reminder, this looked like this before we got started as well. Now, if we come over here and we try and do the same method, we are immediately running into issues, right? So even all the way warm, we are getting really cool highlights, really strange shadows, and everything's pretty green. We can still jump in and try and negotiate this, but it's going to be incredibly more difficult. I wish y'all could see what was happening behind the camera right now. Maybe I'll share it later. We're just killing it over here. Basically what you need to know is my assistants are fanning our camera with folders. It's great. So as you can see, that just doesn't work. It's just not possible. We were able to get a RAW file to fix that white balance, but JPEG was never going to happen. And let's go ahead and do it with the warm so you can see that too. We're going to cool it down, lift the exposure a little bit, add some magenta, and we can get to a very natural and beautiful place. Here comes the warm JPEG. It's going to be a little bit easier because we're in a warm environment, but as you see, we do have some color shifting. So if you really want full control over your editing, we used white balance as the most basic example of why JPEG is just not going to cut it unless you get it perfect in camera. Over here, over here, we have a beautiful in-camera image. We can make a lot of changes to this JPEG and be happy with it. But when we hit those really hard differences, we're going to have issues. So if any part of you was like, I feel comfortable shooting in JPEG and I'm always going to get it right, and I'm never going to need to make any manipulations ever, which could be the case for a studio shooter, then good on you. But know that if a mistake happens, whether that be white balance, exposure, any of the above, you're going to have a lot less leg room to fix that issue as you will with a RAW file where you can really recover almost anything. The one caveat I want to say is, should you be shooting in the ice caves and wherever the heck that is, that's a great opportunity to go ahead and use Kelvin, because you yourself are surrounded by blue, and you're going to be doing yourself a little bit of a favor to counteract that really cool white balance in your own situation. It's not going to make that much of a difference in your file, but it really might help you to see color in the moment and help you to have more control of your artistry. Same as if you're shooting in like a super orange barn for a wedding reception. If you just need to have a better visual, Kelvin's a great option for that, as long as you're doing it in, let's say it together, RAW. Okay, you guys, that ends our first module on auto white balance versus RAW. Wait, auto white balance versus Kelvin. Kelvin. Why'd they name it Kelvin? I should know this. Auto white balance versus Kelvin, or JPEG versus RAW. If you have any other questions, you should totally come join the Kindred Presets Facebook group, where we have a thriving community of incredibly talented individuals who are always ready and willing to jump in and help you at any time. We'll see you there. Oh, Kelvin? William Thomson, first Baron Kelvin. He was a British mathematician and physicist, an engineer born in Belfast. Oh, so he's like qualified. The Kelvin symbol K is a primary unit of temperature. Okay, so it doesn't really, that's like temperature gradients in the real world. Yeah. And then they applied it to photography.